But now we're going to talk a little bit about the hospital bombing, and figuring out what happens in wartime. All right. So, folks, here's what we know right now. What we know right now is that a hospital in Gaza suddenly exploded, presumably bombed. There's footage showing an explosion, so we have video evidence of it happening. Over 500 Palestinians have died. Many more are injured. A lot of the numbers are obviously fluid at this point in time. And now the Gaza Health Ministry is claiming that Israel bombed the hospital. The IDF is claiming that, in fact, it wasn't the IDF who bombed the hospital. Instead, they are claiming that it was a misfired rocket from either Hamas or from a different aggressive group within the Gaza Strip. By the way, Hamas isn't the only militant group in the Gaza Strip. There is also a group called the Palestinian... Oh, God. The PIJ. What does it stand for? I'm just trying to remember. Yes. There's another group called the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, which is a group that is explicitly receiving backing from Iran. And Iran, about 2 years ago, claimed to have distributed weapons to the PIJ. Now, there is some speculation that the object that blew up the hospital was a missile provided by Iran to the PIJ. That is on the table. There's also some speculation that there were munitions underneath the hospital. And there's also some speculation that just kind of a large chain reaction occurred within the hospital from a smaller detonation. Because again, hospitals have compressed gas all over them, like CO2, oxygen tanks, etc. So there are multiple stories right now. And yeah, one of the things that we can say for sure is that the IDF does not have a track record of telling the truth. We can also say that there are multiple narratives out from the IDF itself. And we can also say that things on the ground are messy, and we don't necessarily know with 100% accuracy what is happening on the ground due to media blackout, due to lack of internet, due to a lot of different aspects. So there's a lot of unknowns, the fog of war concept, right? Now, with both these sides pointing fingers at each other, what can we figure out, right? So there's a group called GeoConfirmed on Twitter. I have good reason to believe that GeoConfirmed has some pretty talented, information folks, ex-members of whatever intelligence organizations behind it. So we'll follow through this thread. A missile launched by Palestinian groups exploded midair, and one of the pieces fell on the Al-Ahli Arab Hospital's yard. Before reacting, read our thread. So you'll notice that there's a lot of video in here. So we have video of a missile or a rocket. Seems to partially explode midair. And then we see 2 more explosions here. Now, what a lot of people are trying to kind of parse out is how there were 2 explosions. Again, most of these rockets, most of these missiles, have multiple components. Many of those components can combust and explode or fail following launch. It's possible for a rocket to break up mid-flight and have, the propulsion system explode, but the actual payload remain intact and fall to the ground. That's a thing that can happen. We got more footage here.
لكن دون أن يعلن الإسعاف الإسرائيلي عن وقوع جرحى في صفوف الإسرائيليين في هذه الرشقات الصاروخية المتتالية. وهذه هي المرة الثالثة ازدهار التي تتعرض فيها منطقة تل أبيب وتل أبيب الكبرى، تحديدا هذه المرة الضواحي الجنوبية والجنوبية الشرقية لقصف صاروخي من جانب الفصائل الفلسطينية اعتبارا من ساعات عصر هذا اليوم. وكانت بالفعل استهدافات صاروخية ظهر هذا اليوم لمدينة بئر السبع وضواحيها، وكذلك لمنطقة الغلاف الذي تجدد فيه أيضا القصف الصاروخي، تحديدا باتجاه مدينة إزديروت التي تمكنت بعض الصواريخ من اختراق القبة الحديدية وهذه المنظومة الدفاعية ووقعت في داخل المدينة.
A lot of lights on for a place with no power. Well, again, hospitals are one of the few places that have working power generators. And this is largely because they are now at the point of sending out hospital personnel to siphon gas out of like gas tanks in order to keep the generators running from like abandoned vehicles. Now, yeah. New video shows rocket launches during the time the Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital in Gaza was destroyed. The video shows one rocket either being intercepted or failing, followed by two explosions on the ground. The second explosion appears to be at the hospital. IDF says the PIJ failed rocket launch hit the hospital. Video shows the fire burning between two solar panel layouts, one on the left, one on the right. Look at Google Earth reveals those two solar panels at the hospital, right here. They can also clearly see the hospital panel holders on the roof in the street view photo. We have another angle here. IDF spokesperson says it has a recorded conversation of PIJ members implicating them in the failed rocket launch that hit the hospital. This is according to 3 hours ago. Recording expected to be released, apparently. I mean, take that with a grain of salt, of course. Interesting whistle prior to impact, according to people on the ground. Here is the IDF spokesperson claiming they did not strike the hospital.
I want to give you an announcement of the event that occurred in the hospital in Gaza. I can confirm that an analysis of the IDF operational systems indicates that a barrage of rockets was fired by terrorists in Gaza, passing in close proximity to the Al-Ahli Al-Ma'adi hospital in Gaza at the time it was hit. Intelligence from few sources that we have in our hands indicates that the Islamic Jihad is responsible for the failed rocket launch which hit the hospital in Gaza. I repeat, this is the responsibility of Islamic Jihad that killed innocents in the hospital in Gaza. I want to give you an announcement of the event that occurred in the hospital in Gaza. I can confirm that an analysis of the IDF operational systems indicates that a barrage of rockets was fired by terrorists in Gaza.
Okay. Yeah, here's the BBC, by the way, giving their take.
The Israeli military has been contacted for comment, and they have said that they are investigating. But, you know, it is hard to see what else this could be, really, given the size of the explosion, other than an Israeli airstrike or several airstrikes. Because, you know, when we've seen rockets being fired out of Gaza, we never see explosions of that scale. We might see half a dozen, maybe a few more people being killed in such rocket attacks, but we've never seen anything on the scale of the sort of explosion on the video I was watching earlier, which, as you say, is still to be verified. The Israeli military.
Now, Catalina Gearbox brings up a good question, which is, where are they getting the rockets from? Well, so primarily within the Gaza Strip, Hamas manufactures its own rockets. They're called Qassam rockets. Generally speaking, as far as I could find, the payload of a Qassam rocket is around like 10 kilograms. Like, that's the payload. So like 10 kilos for explosives. They get the explosives from like scavenged TNT or ammonite, or they make their own fertilizer bombs. And that's mostly what we're talking about here. And generally speaking, that BBC host is correct. Like, a lot of the munitions manufactured by Hamas, or that are manufactured in the Gaza Strip itself, are not capable of producing an explosion that would kill 500 people. There is a possibility that there was kind of like a Rube Goldbergian effect of like an explosion hitting the right compressed gas cylinders and causing a chain reaction through the building. That doesn't seem super likely given the video, but it is possible. Paladin Lost. I don't know that I can. I don't know that I can show a do your own rocket making video from Hamas on stream. I don't think I can get away with that. So much has to be taken with so many grains of salt to trust the IDF's takes. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the other part of it, right? Like, it's hard to trust the IDF's narrative when they are known for lying and they've been threatening to bomb hospitals for the last week. So, yeah. The amount of grains of salt here are hard to grant. Islamic Jihad denied that any of its rockets were involved in a hospital blast, saying it did not have any activity in or around Gaza City at that time, which seems unlikely given how small the Gaza Strip is. But, you know, again, you know, the Islamic Jihad has motivation to lie, like Hamas has motivation to lie. Like, both of these organizations know that it makes them look bad if one of their rockets failed and blew up 500 Palestinians. You know, the IDF also knows that it looks bad if they bomb the hospital, and they're going to be trying to shift the blame for as long as possible. So, again, yeah, there's a lot of speculation here. I'm going to leave it on this, which is reporting from MSNBC. Okay?
This is an absolutely classic fog of war situation, and we should be really clear. NBC News is not able to get into Gaza right now. The Israeli border is sealed. The Egyptian border is sealed. Our teams are not able to get there and to verify this directly. We should also say that the Israeli military, at this point, is not providing any evidence to back up its claims that this was a Palestinian Islamic Jihad rocket. They are citing intelligence that they have not yet made public. We should also say that this kind of death toll is not what you normally associate with Palestinian rockets. These rockets are...
And again, that's because Qassam rockets have a payload of like 10 kilos.
Dangerous, they are deadly. They do not tend to kill hundreds of people in a single strike. In the West, this is an absolutely classic...
Yeah. This is kind of where I'm at. You know, there are numerous reasons to distrust the IDF. It's also possible, and I know that this might sound crazy, it's also possible for the IDF to be telling the truth in this instance. And the reality is we just don't know. Like, there aren't enough reporters on the scene. There aren't any, no one's being allowed into the country. There aren't like UN folks who are able to go in with and like do an impartial report on what happened here. So that's kind of the thing, right? Like, IDF presenting no evidence whatsoever. All of the circumstantial evidence would indicate the IDF, of course, but it is very possible that, you know, a failed rocket launch happened. All of these are possibilities. I'm leaning towards the IDF bombed it, personally, but it's also possible that they didn't. And we might not ever know. Hassan's been dealing with it for hours. Stun locked, legit, like 4 hours. I mean, I don't think there's any reason to be stun locked on this for 4 hours. Sincerely. Like, in combat situations, there are going to be times where we do not know what is going on up to the minute live on stream. Their words are hollow. I opt out of caring whether they're lying or not. I mean, yeah. The bottom line is you can't trust the IDF. Now, just one last thing here. This is the Prime Minister of Israel. This tweet, by the way, has since been deleted. But Benjamin Netanyahu tweeted out, "The weak crumble, are slaughtered, and are erased from history, while the strong, for good or ill, survive. The strong are respected, and alliances are made with the strong. And in the end, peace is made with the strong." Which is insane, dude. This is insane. This is pure fascist rhetoric. Pure fascism on display here. And here's another tweet from him. A lot of these tweets are gone now. A lot of these tweets are gone, but screenshots persist. "This is a struggle between the children of light and the children of darkness, between humanity and the law of the jungle." Again, he's straight up saying that Palestinians are animals, that they are deserving of extermination, that they are deserving of slaughter, and that Israel will be the victors remembered by history. It turns my stomach, dude. And I think we need to watch really quick. This is from a couple days ago. Yesterday. It's from yesterday. Democracy Now! Had on an Israeli historian and a scholar of genocide named Raz Segal to talk about the messaging coming out of the Israeli government. And it's really something else. So we gotta watch it. And Amy Goodman is 100% one of the GOATs.
Lay out your case.
Thank you for having me.
I think that indeed what we're seeing now in Gaza is a case of genocide. Uh, we have to understand that the UN Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide from 1948 requires that we see special intent for genocide to happen. And to quote the convention, intent to destroy a group as defined as racial, ethnic, religious, or national, as such, that is collectively, not just individuals. And this intent, as we just heard, is on full display by Israeli politicians and army officers. Since 7th of October, we heard Israel's president. It's well known what Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said on 9th of October, declaring a complete siege on Gaza, cutting off water, food, fuel, stating that we're fighting human animals and we will react accordingly. He also said that we will eliminate everything. We know that Israeli army spokesperson Daniel Hagari, for example, acknowledged one-tune destruction and said explicitly the emphasis is on damage and not on accuracy. So we're seeing this special intent on full display. And really, I have to say, if this is not special intent to commit genocide, I really don't know what is. So when we look at the actions taken, the dropping of thousands and thousands of bombs in a couple of days, including
Yeah, but usually, Kyrie, the comparison of human beings to animals is a pretext to dehumanize them and justify violence against them.
phosphorus bombs, as we heard, on one of the most densely populated.
You know, you can keep an animal in a cage. You can slaughter an animal. You can't do that to people.
Populated areas around the world, together with these proclamations of intent, this indeed constitutes genocidal killing, which is the first act, according to the Convention, of genocide. And Israel, I must say, is also perpetrating act number 2. And
now, just to be clear, again, this guy is Israeli. This guy studies genocide. He's not being hyperbolic. This is what he has dedicated his life to studying.
And 3, that is causing serious bodily or mental harm, and creating a condition designed to bring about the destruction of the group by cutting off water, food, supply of.
Yes, exactly, Lady Ringcloud. Exactly like how the Christian fascist right wing in America refers to Native Americans. Yes.
Energy, bombing hospitals, ordering the fast evictions of hospitals, which the World Health Organization has declared to be, quote, a death sentence. So we're seeing the combination of genocidal acts with special intent. This is indeed a textbook case of genocide.
Can you talk about the displacement? Israel saying that the entire northern Gaza, now hundreds of thousands of people have complied, must move south. The northern part of Gaza is the most populated with Gaza City.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as is well known, this is an impossible order. It's impossible for specific groups of people in hospitals, people defined as disabled, elderly people, many Palestinians who refuse to leave their homes because of their histories and their memories of the Nakba. This is an impossible order. It's yet another indication of the intent to destroy, the intent to commit genocide.
And to be clear what he's talking about, the Nakba was a mass displacement of Palestinians in 1948. Over 700,000 Palestinians were evicted from their homes and sent as a cloud of diaspora across the Middle East. And frankly, at the time, in 1948, the UN condemned this and called for a return of all of the land and property taken by Israel. And to this day, that land and property has not been returned. And when he says many of them are not leaving because of the memory of the Nakba, that's because within living memory, there are still people alive who experienced it. The people who left were never able to return home.
It's also worthwhile to emphasize Defense Minister Yoav Gallant new term that he coined, complete siege. It seems like a completely new term that really takes the what was already a 17-year siege on Gaza, the longest in modern history, which is already a clear violation of international humanitarian law. It takes this siege and now turns it into a complete siege, which really signals the turn to this kind of genocidal destruction that we're seeing, including with this eviction order. It's also worthwhile to try to explain, I think, why Israel is so explicit in its declaration. We've heard Israel president talk about evil. We've also heard about Biden's use of the word evil. EU leaders describe the Hamas attack as evil, and it has to be said.
Yeah, but by the way, following the Nakba, Palestinians have been displaced repeatedly over the course of, 75, 80 years. And now there are over 5 million displaced Palestinians who live abroad because they cannot return home. I mean, it is a long-term project of ethnic cleansing, and this man is arguing that it is now rising to the level of genocide.
Said the Hamas attack were clear war crimes, the mass murder of more than 1,000 Israeli civilians, a horrendous war crime that rightfully shocked many Israelis and many people around the world. But evil is not a term to describe them. Evil is a term to decontextualize. Evil is a term to demonize and to really enhance the widespread fantasies of Israelis today that they're fighting Nazis. Actually, former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett said that directly in an interview yesterday. We are fighting Nazis. We see this in many other indications in Israeli society and politics today. And if we're fighting Nazis, then everything is permissible.
Professor Siegel, I actually wanted to go to the former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, who's currently in the Israeli army. This is from a few days ago, where he exploded at the Sky News anchor Kamali Melbourne during an interview Thursday when Melbourne pressed him on Israel's attacks on Palestinian civilians. This is a part of what
This was a
said.
good interview.
What about those Palestinians in hospital who are on life support, and babies and incubators whose life support and incubator will have to be turned off because the Israelis have cut the power to Gaza?
Are you seriously keep on asking me about Palestinian civilians? What's wrong with you? Have you not seen what happened? We're fighting Nazis. We don't target them. Now, the world can come and bring them anything they want. If you want to bring them electricity, I'm not going to feed electricity.
Fun fact, the world can't because Israel keeps bombing the Rafah crossing.
Or water to my enemies. If anyone else wants, that's fine. We're not responsible for them.
This is the point.
But you
This
keep
is the
on.
point.
This is the former Prime Minister.
I want to tell you. No, listen. You listen to me right now. I've heard you enough.
No, I understand. We're trying to have a conversation here. Listen, this is my program. This is my show. And I am asking the questions. You're raising your voice, and I've asked you, and we've already stopped, please, and let me finish. We've already distinguished between Hamas.
I want to tell you, shame on you.
You're trying to speak over me.
We are not. Shame on you.
It's nothing about
Shame on you. How dare you ask me about the consequences of the nation I previously led's actions? How dare you ask me about the consequences of our actions? How dare you?
We're trying to have a conversation about a very serious situation here, and you are refusing to address it.
So that is the former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett exploding at the Sky News anchor Kamali Melbourne. Professor Siegel, you're an Israeli historian. This is what you're talking about when he uses the Nazi analogy, and also when he says, are you seriously talking about Palestinian civilians? Your response?
That's exactly what we're. It's very important to understand this context, the idea of fighting Nazis. the idea of using Holocaust memory in this way. There's a broad context, a long history, of course, of this shameful use of Holocaust memory, which Israeli politicians have used to justify, rationalize, deny, distort, disavow mass violence against Palestinians. And it has allowed also a view to develop that sees Israel as somehow exceptional, providing it impunity. The truth, however, is that all perpetrators of genocide actually see their victims as dangerous, as vicious, as inhuman, right? That's how the Nazis saw.
Both strong and pathetically weak. You know, that is how the fascists do.
The Jews, and that's how today Israelis see Palestinians. And that's why the lessons of the Holocaust actually were never meant to provide cover and rationalize state violence and genocide, but rather protect groups, especially stateless and defenseless groups under military occupation and siege from violent states. The lessons of the Holocaust are now very, very urgent. We need to center the voices of those facing state violence and genocide, and we need to move to prevention as fast as possible. In order to do that, we need to recognize what's going on around us, what's unfolding in front of our eyes, which is really a textbook case of genocide, with the rhetoric, with the actions, with everything involved.
Raz Siegel is Associate Professor of Holocaust and Genocide Studies at Stockton University and the Endowed Professor in the Study of Modern Genocide. He's an Israeli historian. His new article for Jewish Currents will link to A Textbook Case of Genocide. The subtitle, Israel's been explicit about what it's carrying out in Gaza. Why isn't the world listening?
Yeah, I mean, all you got to do, chat, is like listen to what the people commanding the IDF have to say. And at every turn, they are saying that Palestinians need to be wiped out. Every man, woman, and child. That's what they're saying. And that is what it looks like they are poised to do.